Alright, so we have most of our static meshes done and details placed. And let's take a look at our concept art and see how close we look before we start the lighting pass. So overall, let's go to detail lighting. Well, I deleted my lights, so right now in unlit mode, but in unlit mode compared to the concept, it looks pretty close with some modifications that we've done on our own. Now we're going to start doing some lighting pass, but before we do that, just need to do a little bit of cleanup in the back area so we don't have light leaking into the map. So I'm just going to delete, I did some work off camera, so I'm just going to delete this and just kind of redo it quickly. So you just kind of want to take any wall piece and select it, put it in place, and just want to close off the back area. And duplicate this, right click, transform, mirror Y. And then we need to put a little bit of a roof on it. So we'll just go pick this mesh, duplicate it, rotate it. Scale this up so it covers the top of the roof. So it just kind of boxes in this whole space, and we'll lower it down so that this whole entire space is enclosed, and that'll help with our lighting. Alright, so let's hit one, back to where we are, our locked camera. Now to start lighting, the first thing you want to do is build a light mass importance volume. What this does is denotes the bounds of how far you want to build lighting. Without it, it's going to build to a very, very far distance in the editor, because if you look around, I can turn off, let's go to wireframe. It's going to build lighting in this whole space. We kind of don't want that. So I can go back to my unlit mode, hit 1. So we'll make a bounds to tell the editor build lighting in this space. So to do that, we'll go to our modes, volumes, and light mass importance volume. Select that, drop it into the world. If you don't see it, you must be in game mode, so just hit G. Now let's go to top view, and we will scale this using the scale tool to fit the bounds of our level. And we'll go to the left view, make sure it fits our bounds vertically. And while we're here, we just don't need these trees on the side, so I'm just going to delete those quickly. So there you go. This yellow box is now how much of a boundary we will build light within. Go back to perspective. Now we'll go back to window, modes, lights, directional light. This is the main light source for the scene. Now, an easy trick to do to get some basic colors to match your lighting is to select this, to select your sky, and where it says on the right side, refresh material, directional light actor, click on none, select your directional light, hit refresh material, and we'll go to lit mode. And now, as I turn it, we start seeing some shadows. And if I rotate it another way for like longer shadows in the different directions, and hit refresh material, click on the sky and hit refresh material, you see the colors change because we have colors determined by sun position checked. So as long as you have that checked, the editor will kind of calculate what color the sky should be to match the direction of the light, but not the color of the light. We have to set the color of the light on our own. So for this scene, I'm going to try to do, let's say, a early morning or early afternoon type lighting. So for that, I'm going to go to click on my light, go to the intensity, make it not as bright, we'll start with about a value of 5. We'll change our color to about a yellowish red, kind of get that early morning, midday feel. So as I'm changing the color, you can see it taking effect in the editor scene. There's something about there should be okay. So that's the hex value if you want to enter it manually of F, F, E, 3B, 2FF. But I don't usually work with hex numbers. I just kind of eyeball the color using the color picker. And then we can do, while we have our light selected, we can check the indirect lighting intensity. So how much indirect lighting the map receives. So I'm going to scale this up to about a 3. And then we can also turn on light shafts. These are kind of like what you call the God rays of the scene. You can do these procedurally through the editor, or you can place them manually if you have like God ray static meshes. So I'm going to turn on light shaft occlusion. I'm going to turn on light shaft bloom. And for now, this might be pretty bright, but let's see what we get. So with that turned on, I'm going to rotate my light actor. And now you see I have that checked, the bloom and light shaft checked on, and you can start seeing them a little bit in the scene. Let's try to get it to an angle where it makes the most impact. And we get some good light color. Something like that might be cool. Like does like the sun being on the left side of the mountain and, you know, rising up slowly. Actually, if it's the sunrise, it should be on the east. And east is usually on the left if you think cardinal direction. So let's do a little more accurate. So put it on the left side. So the sun is rising. And then I can click on my sky, hit refresh material, and that's pretty bright. So I'm going to go back to my sun actor, click on that, and go to bloom scale and turn this down to about a 0.05. That's a little, maybe do 0.075. And I can change the bloom tint to match my lighting. So again, do a little bit of an orange, reddish orange tint on my bloom. Okay, that should be fine for now. And then the next thing you need to add is a skylight. A skylight kind of fills in where we have all our shadow. You see it's all very dark. It's a very dark shadow. We don't want that. We kind of want a bit of a fill light. So what we can do is go back to window, modes, skylight. Now I dropped it in and you can see it just kind of washed out all the yellow reddish color we had from our sun, because the skylight has a very strong intensity of a value of 1. Skylights you kind of don't want to have a very strong intensity unless your scene or level requires it. But for this case, I'm going to start with a small value of 0.25. And as you can see now, we have much nicer shadows and not as much blown out colors. And we can also change the light color of the skylight of how much fill we want. So since it's a winter theme, I'm going to kind of add in like a blue color to contrast my yellow sun. Again, there's a lot of color theory and detail into doing lighting. I'm just kind of running off of the basics that I know, but I'm sure you can go into a lot more depth of color theory and saturations and contrast and gammas and a whole bucket of things. But we're going to keep things simple for today. So with my skylight selected, I'm going to click on the light color and change it to like a blue hue. Trying to see what feels right with my shadows. Something like that feels pretty good. Nothing too strong. I can lower the saturation a little bit. And then I can change the indirect lighting intensity of the shadows to about a 2. All right. Now the third piece of the puzzle is adding in fog. Now we're going to go back to our window. We're going to go to modes. We're going to go to visual effects, and we're going to exponential height fog. Drag that in. Now here we can change the fog density. right now it's set to 0.02. We can try, let's say, a stronger fog value of 0.2, maybe even a 0.15. And without doing much, you can see the scene is already starting to feel more alive just by adding color. And I can change the fog color, make it a little more darker so it's not so blue. And then I can change the fall off of the fog. How high or low I want the fog to be. So let's try the value of like 0.5. It's kind of mid-range, you know, it's not such a foggy day, but there's a bit of fog. So 0.5 feels good. And then I'm going to change the in-scattering tint color, kind of make an opposite color. Sorry, the directional in-scattering color. I can change this to like a yellowish to kind of match our sunlight. A little red. And then there's a new feature in Unreal called volumetric fog. We can try turning this on and see how it looks. We can click on volumetrics and click on override colors with in-scattering colors and scattering and we can change the fog color as well in terms of volumetrics. Kind of give it a little bit of a purplish tone. The scattering distribution, and make that higher, like 0.5. And that's pretty much the basics. So to see kind of the overall effects of how it works into the scene, we're going to do a quick lighting build. And to do that, you just make sure you have your light mask port and volume on. You can hit G for game mode so you don't see any of the actors. And we go to build and build lighting only. But you want to make sure you have it set on preview. If you have production, it'll take a very long time. Preview build gets the gist of what the lighting is going to look like. So for the case of the tutorial, I'm going to run a preview build and I'll be right back. So I'm going to have preview on, build lighting only, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I finished my preview lighting build, and things look pretty good. Got some nice warm colors from our sun, got some blue shades from our shadows, and overall things look usable, but there's a couple of things I feel off. I feel like the background is a little too dark. We can fix that, we can brighten that up. And also there's a bit of wonkiness going on in our hallway, so let's see what's up with that. Well, here's the thing, we didn't cover up the roof. Now we can leave it and we'll get a cool lighting effect, or if you feel like, you can close it off. For me right now, I think I'm going to leave it open and see how it works when we do some more lighting work. Hit 1. Actually, in fact, I'm going to make one quick fix. As you can see, this thing's not lined up. That's another reason why it's looking a bit wonky. So let's just scale this guy up a little bit and make sure it fits in the hallway. And fix this guy. Alright. So we'll have to probably rebuild lighting, but we'll do that anyways. So the next thing I want to do is go over fixing the background. And there's a couple ways we can do that. We can adjust our fog color. Let's go to our fog. Again, just for reference, the sunlight actor is your directional light. This actor with the dome is your skylight, and the one with the clouds is your fog. So I'm going to click on the clouds actor. And I'm going to reduce the density to about maybe 0.1. Even for fun, let's actually bump up the density, make it a little more foggier. Let's say 0.25. But I'm going to increase the color. Instead of being so dark, I'm going to lower the color, lower the saturation, and increase the value. And lower the saturation even more. Small clicks. Okay, and then I can also adjust my skylight. make it a little bit darker, a little brighter, sorry. And I can increase my lighting intensity from a 5 to, let's say, about a 6.5. And we can make it a little bit more reddish tint, a little bit more. And we can adjust our bloom as well. And while we're here, we're going to do a little bit of point light work, adding in some more fine-tuned lighting. So for that, I'm going to first grab some particle effects to fill in the torches. So to do that, I'm going to go to Window, Window, Content Browser. And in Content Browser, I'm going to hit Content and Filters, Particle System, and type Fire. And there's P Torch Fire. I'm going to grab that, drop it into the world. Hit G, and this is kind of spark acid. If you don't see anything happening, it's because you're not in real-time mode. Hit Control R and see the flame in real time. So I'm just gonna line this up with my torches and then add in some lights to match the flame. And then I'm gonna go back to my window. I'm gonna go to Modes, Lights, Point Light. And now this point light, when I place it, you see a circle. That is the radius of how far this point light will cast to. So I'm going to drag it over, kind of line it up with my torch. But now the thing is, I don't need the torch to cast light that far. So to do that, I can go to my, on the details panel, attenuation radius. I'm going to bring this down to about 350. Maybe even less, maybe even 310. Now my radius is that much. Now I'm going to change the light color to be a bit more red to match the fire. And I'm going to bring the brightness of this guy down to about 3,500, the intensity. And then I'm going to select both of these guys and duplicate them around the map. And select both of all four of these, and then drag it down the line. Oh, there's my move widget. I was trying to find that. And then also I'm going to just copy this particle, Control C, and I'm going to click on here and do Control V. Where'd it go? It's around here somewhere. Torch fire, where are you? I guess I didn't copy it, so it's in the same spot. And just drag that over. And line it up with the torches here and scale it up to match the size of the torch. And maybe scale this up to about a 2. And duplicate that. And then I'm going to copy my light. Right click, edit, paste here. And here I'm going to actually increase the intensity from 3,500 to about, let's say, 5,500. It's much brighter. And then I'm also going to duplicate this light and pop it in this window to kind of give the assumption that there is a light source inside here, but we don't need to put the torch actor. And here I'm going to bump up the brightness again to about 6,500 with a much higher radius of about 512. I'm just going to duplicate this into the other window, hit G, hit 1, and then I'm also going to put a little bit of lights inside of my hallway. Probably just copy these guys. Alright, with that in place, I'm going to hit Control R to turn off real-time mode. Actually, just before I do that, yep, hit 1, Control R, turn off real-time, and I'm going to hit save, and do another preview lighting build and see how things look.